Hello and welcome back to another
Episode of In the Corner. I'm Cash. Today we have episode 97 where we're going to talk about all those stuff that happened this weekend. I had a few interesting fight nights, and then we're going to talk about some news. So let's just start off with it. Let's start with UFC Vancouver. We had a pretty big upset in the main event. Reinier de Ridder came into this, his fourth fight of the year. He's been on a great run. He just beat Robert Whittaker, knocked out Bo Nickel, beat Kevin Holland this year, and then goes in. It was meant to fight Fluffy Hernandez. Hernandez gets injured. Brendan Allen steps in. We think that RDR is probably going to get the win here, and then he could, depending on how good he looks, get a title shot. That does not happen. He has a great first round, and then quickly tires, and Brendan Allen wears him down. Out wrestling him, just really wearing on him, and he quits on the stool in between the fourth and the fifth rounds as he just has nothing left to give, way down on the scorecards, no energy left. Obviously, he's talking about some injuries. It's clear that coming into this fight, RDR was not 100%. And I know nobody ever is 100%, but he just had no gas tank after the first round. He was completely done. That was not what we're used to seeing from him. So it does suck for him, but great performance from Brendan Allen. He's now moving up in the middleweight division, so he'll probably get a good fight off that. One that a lot of people are calling for is for him to fight Dricus du Plessis. Obviously, coming off the loss to Hamza Chimaev, I think that's a pretty good fight. I feel like a lot of the, next steps
for the middleweight division is starting to get aligned. You're gonna have Hamza versus Imavov. Fluffy Hernandez could fight.
Strickland, DDP could fight um, Allen, and then you've got guys like Izzy, Kyle Braulio, MVP, Jared Cannonier, Reinier de Ridder. All those guys can get in with each other. Lots of good fights to be made in that middleweight division. And yeah, I thought it was a great performance from Brendan Allen. There is something going around of this during Brendan Allen's walkout. It seems like somebody showed like a hostage picture on their phone. I don't know if that's real. I don't know if that's something else, but I don't know if that is like actually what a lot of us think it is. That is one of the craziest, most disturbing things ever, and I hope they find out. I hope the police figure out what's going on there and if somebody's actually in danger, because that's just unbelievable, unbelievable. Moving on from that, let's talk about the undercard. Mike Malott beating Kevin Holland. Really, really weird fight where Kevin Holland got hit in the balls. It took the full 5 minutes, and then even like another 30 seconds on top of that. A point could have been taken. To be honest, the fight could have been stopped. Kevin Holland after that hit was still not good. Like then for like the rest of the fight, really. Um, I thought he had a, I thought he had a decent start, but then Mike Malott kind of took over in the back half of the fight and got the win. He's now going to be ranked at number 15. So good for him. I thought it was a fine win, but yeah, definitely a little bit of controversy in that one with the low blow. Chito Vera dropping another fight to Amin Zahabi. Chito saying he got robbed. I do think that, excuse me, when Amin Zahabi fought Jose Aldo, I don't think that he won that fight. I thought Jose Aldo was robbed there. I do think that Amin Zahabi did beat Chito Vera in this fight, and he'll probably get a good fight off the win of that. Cheeto, I thought, had a great first round and then kind of let go of the fight, let the steam, just didn't keep the steam going and ended up losing the last two rounds on my card. So I thought Zahabi deserved the win. And yeah, Cheeto just needs to lock in really because he has all these fights that are winnable for him and he just lets them get away from him. And yeah, so he's on like a 3 fight losing streak, I think. Manon 4-0, first round TKO against Jasmine Jasudavicius. A little bit of an odd stoppage, a little bit of an early one, but still very, very impressive for her to come in. This is honestly, it was kind of a title contender bout. Winner of this is going to be in pretty good contention to go up and fight the winner of Shevchenko and Zhang Wei Li. I know that Shevchenko did just fight Faro, and it was a close fight, but I don't know if there's a new champion there. If Zhang does beat Shevchenko, I would not be surprised at all if Faro gets the title shot off of that. But yeah, I thought that was a good matchup, and Faro handled it very easily. You had Charles Jourdain, first round submission over Davy Grant. Kyle Nelson and Matt Frivola, another weird first round where Nelson seemingly finishes Frivola. We think that the fight is over, and then it just continues, and then Sutton Nelson does still end up winning every round um, past that, but just really, really weird that it was the same ref who had the Lobo incident in the co-main. I don't know what was going on there. I don't know what was happening with the refs on this card, but I thought that the fight was over. I thought he called it early, and then they just bring it back for the second round. So really, really weird situations in Vancouver. Nelson gets the win nonetheless. Drew Dober, a good win for him. TKO in the third round. You had Aoric Chilang, probably butchering that. First round knockout over Cody Gibson. A lot of finishes on this card. Bruno Silva had a submission. Jordan Santos, great fight he had. Won by unanimous decision, 29-28 for me. Really, really good, fun fight with Danny Barlow. Stephanie Luciano, third round submission. Yusri Belgaori, great fight with Azamat Bekoev, finishing him off with a third round TKO. And then Melissa Croden having a dominant third round TKO as well. Fun fight card in Vancouver. We're going to Abu Dhabi next week for UFC 321. Tom Aspinall, Cyril Gahn. I cannot wait for that card. A lot of interesting fights, and true start of the Tom Aspinall era is on Saturday in Abu Dhabi. Probably going to do an episode on Friday where we're going to preview that, as well as Joseph Parker-Fabio Wardley. But without talking about that more, let's talk about the other cards this weekend. Danny Garcia got back into the win column with a comeback and potentially final fight against Daniel Gonzalez. I thought it was an okay fight. Nothing too crazy. First 3 rounds, Garcia looked decent, and then gets a great fourth round knockout, like a true knockout. So that was really good to see. And look, I think that Garcia should 100% end his career right now. He says he's 85% retired, and essentially saying that I'm retired unless I get a really good offer that I can't refuse. Meaning, PBC or someone offers it, or Turkey offers him a fight against a big dog, and he's like, oh, it's too much money. It's too good of a fight to pass up on. He's going to stay in good shape, but I think that he's probably pretty much done, and I would like him to stay like that just because you're coming off of a good win in the Barclays Center. Just leave it be. Let that be your storybook ending and move on. We'll see if that happens. It could have been the final time, but usually he's probably going to get itchy knuckles, and unless they commit to and say, no, this is the final time, we usually see them again. So I think this should be his final fight, but I don't know if he will. As for the promotion of the show, he obviously handled the promotion. I thought that the product looked decent, but they did not sell a lot of tickets on the night. The arena was pretty empty, which, just what you have to expect. It wasn't, Danny Garcia's a big name, but he's kind of washed, and it wasn't a big fight he was in. So the undercard, I saw the last few fights of it. Dominic Crowder had a really dominant win, but he was also very boring and, didn't really excite me. Damien Kaneba got a final, I think it was an 8th round, or maybe it was a 7th round stoppage against Joey Dwejko, which he was waiting on way too long. That was kind of boring. And then Gabriel Rosado had a decision win over Von Alexander. I also know that Chris Colbert had a decision win. So they had a lot of guys from the past on this card. I would have preferred more young, up-and-coming fighters, and at least the ones that they do have on the show. Would have preferred some more exciting ones. But, some decent names, just not in really competitive fights. Mostly all these wins were dominant. But, if Danny's going to keep on promoting with Swift Promotions, I'm curious to see where he goes with it. And then we also had a Most Valuable Prospects card, the 16th one. Lourdes Juarez outpointed Jessica Nuri Plata by a majority decision win. I thought she deserved the win. I had her winning 96-94, as did 2 of the judges. I thought it was a really, really fun fight in Texas. Just 2 lower weight warriors going at it over 10 rounds. Really a lot of fun. Exciting fight. I enjoyed that. You also had another championship on the line in the featured bout, I guess you could say, with Desley Robinson stopping Logan Hauler in just 2 rounds for the unified middleweight championship. Very, very destructive, walking through her. MVP's got so many great women's fights that they put on, and this card was no exception. You had some great ones. Omar Juarez versus Omar Rosario in the co-main event. Juarez dominated Rosario. I had him winning 97-91. Rosario did have a couple of rounds here and there, and I maybe even had it closer than most did, but I thought it was a good win for Juarez. You had Sharetta Metcalf and Crystal Rosado in a very, very competitive fight. Sharetta Metcalf gets the decision in that fight. I edged it to Crystal Rosado personally. I had her winning 77-75. I think that's either a draw or 5-3. Either way, really, really close fight. But Metcalf gets it done, and we'll see where she goes from here. I thought that was a really interesting fight to make with, one of MVP's top up and coming prospects and a former champion. And the former champion, I mean, you don't usually go to becoming a gatekeeper that quickly after losing your belt, and she's right back into the win column. I wouldn't even mind. I wouldn't mind if they did a rematch because it was that close. Also on the card, running Alvarez, fifth round stoppage. Alexis Shapiro had to go through some adversity, got hurt bad in the second round, but finished his opponent in the sixth. Yolanda Vega dropped another decision, got dominated by Miranda Reyes in a big upset there. Obviously, she was undefeated, now coming off two back-to-back losses with Holly Holm and Miranda Reyes to start off her MVP career. Wonder if she'll get dropped by them just because she's showing that she may have had a little bit of a padded record because she's getting dominated by these other top women's fighters. Sebastian Juarez and DeMarcus Layton had a crazy first round. Juarez get dropped. He's like, oh no. And then he comes back and he drops Layton two more times and then gets a stoppage, all within the first round. Crazy, crazy round. Pedro Vicha and Xavier Zuniga had a draw. I see that a lot of people had Vicha clearly winning the fight. I think it was closer than that. I was still edging the fight. But yeah, a draw is definitely not ideal. And Vicha probably should have gotten the win, but again, I'm not really too mad at that being a draw. It was a close fight. And then Edgar Rosales beating Reggie Ray Martinez over 4 rounds, just nonstop action. Good MVP card. I really like what they're doing with these prospects cards. I just need more. I need more like fight nights, really. Like the prospects are fun, but that fight night they did in Orlando in August was so fun. It was such a good card, and I just want to see MVP fight night too. So maybe they have something cooking for December. We'll see. Now, we also did have a BKFC card in Indiana and a PFL card in Rwanda. I believe I've not yet watched those. I did hear the PFL Africa card had more crazy finishes, as they typically do. I'm curious if they're going to be able to get the finals in before the end of the year. I don't know if they will. I think the finals will probably end up happening in like January, which is a little bit disappointing because you want to have the tournament end in 2025. Maybe they have a card at like the end of December. We'll see. But yeah. Without further ado, let's talk about the news that we have for this week. And let's start off with Misfits officially announcing December 20th, the fight before Christmas. They will be in Dubai, and they are teasing a Cobra. I think we're 99.9% going to be having Andrew Tate headline this card against who we don't know. Rumors of him fighting Chase Demore for the heavyweight championship on Misfits, that was kind of debunked. I would love to see him and Darren Till fight. I think they're around the same weight. I think that's a big fight. It's a competitive fight. That's the biggest fight they could do. It's my own personal pick, and that's your main event for sure. We'll see if that's what ends up happening. We know that Darren Till is definitely going to be on this card. Dylan Dan is going to be on this card. Maybe against Eddie Hall. I think that'll probably happen next year if it happens at all. We're just going to have to see which way Misfits decides to take this card. A lot of their guys like, Gibb, Slim, Dean the Great, Anthony Taylor are all hinting that they could be on it. So I think we're going to get another super card, especially with this being in the Middle East. They're going to back the Middle East is going to pay for a lot of the card. They're going to be getting a lot more good and better fights on it. So I'm really looking forward to it. I love that we're going to get all these fights, all around Christmas. Last year we didn't get any besides like Fury and Usyk, and then didn't have any fights for like 3 weeks. This time, every Saturday, we're going to be getting something good. And yeah, good to see Misfits will have another event this year because the amount of fights they had this year compared to the years in the past has dropped down by like half. So, yeah, good to see we're gonna get another big show by the end of the year. Oleksandr Usyk says that he's targeting a return in the first half of 2026, or actually his team said this, and that the winner of Joseph Parker-Fabio Wardley would be the front runner. It has to be. Joseph Parker should already be the front runner, and of course, if Fabio does beat him, that kind of does, he kind of will assume Parker's spot as the number one contender in the heavyweight division. It's either the winner of this or Caballero, and I think the winner of this, especially if it's Parker, deserves it more. And I do think Parker does beat Wardley on Saturday. So, yeah, it's good to see Usyk has his eye on this fight. First half of 2026, both of these, the winner of this and Usyk will all be available. That sounds perfect to me, doing around like April time maybe. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited for this fight on Saturday and to see how it goes. But a lot of stakes on the line with the winner almost guaranteed a shot at Oleksandr Usyk. Derek Chisora, Jarrell Miller is apparently in talks for December 13th and is looking possible. Um, I mean, obviously these Derek Chisora and Moses Atama fights that are supposed to be on December 13th, they still haven't announced it yet. Frank Warren said they're having issues getting opponents with like money and stuff. Dillian White, I would like to see for Derek Chisora. I much prefer the Jarrell Miller fight. I think that makes sense. I think it's a tough fight for Chisora to go out on. But it's one that I think he can win. I think it's a very good competitive matchup, and the buildup would be really, really funny. So I love that fight. As for Moses Atama, we don't know who he's going to be fighting. It was just announced that Michael Hunter is going to be fighting Eli Frankham, who's 8-0 in the announcement. But if you look at his box rec, it says he's 3-0 and has only fought once in the last decade, and that was in 2020 at York Hall on December 5th. No idea what Michael Hunter is doing fighting some random guy in York Hall. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know what his career is doing. And he's like somehow number one with the WBA. Like, why? What has he done to prove that? But anyways, Michael Hunter was an option. Kubrat Pulev was an option. David Adelaide was an option. And they've all had fights announced in the last week or two. Yeah, so I don't know who Moses is gonna fight. We're just gonna have to wait and see who they pull out of the barrel for him. But I'm hoping this card gets announced soon. I definitely think Chisora will be on it, probably against Miller. I'm starting to think Atama may not end up fighting on this event, and we'll see him early next year. But I would love to see him get one more fight in because he's only fought, I think, like 2 or 3 rounds in 2025 as a whole. Um, Jaime Munguia is apparently looking to return in April and wants either Hamza Shiraz or Christian Mbili. So he's looking to fight up the rankings. I think that Mbili and Shiraz are both capable of beating Munguia right now. I would have them more highly ranked than him in the super middleweight division for sure. So good to see that he's ducking no smoke, wants to get right into the fire. I mean, he was really active in 2024, and then after his victory over Bruno Strauss in the rematch, and obviously the PED stuff, it's going to be almost a year out of the ring for him. But I like either of those fights. I'd love to see him fight Diego Pacheco. I think that's a more evenly matched fight. But yeah, him and Billy would be great. Him and Shiraz would be great. There's no doubt those would be exciting fights, for sure. Matchroom have shared with the ring that they are going to be doing an event in Ghana on December 20th. Rumored is that it's going to be headlined by Craig Richards versus Dan Aziz, which is a really good fight. Could have gone in just the UK, but I'm okay with it going there. That's a good competitive light heavyweight matchup. I like it. And the rumor is that Anthony Joshua could be fighting on the undercard in like a run out, just a comeback fight. I don't know how much interest I have in that. I'd obviously be very excited, but he's Anthony Joshua. He shouldn't be having 6, 8 rounders on undercards at all. He should be fighting real guys in the main event always. Doesn't matter if you're coming off a year layoff after a loss. You need to be in real fights. But yeah, this is all to set up a Matchroom show in February where Anthony Joshua is going to be fighting there, for sure. It seems like the deal is now in place and that this is just kind of Matchroom coming to test the waters, get there. It's just probably part of the deal, like a 2-event deal. And yeah, so they'll be there December 20th. It was also announced that the day before that, December 19th, Amir Khan Promotions will be doing another event in Nigeria for Chaos in the Ring 2, I guess you could say. Both Lawrence Okoli and David Adelaide will be on this card, so they're getting bigger names for this one. Queensberry's partnering with them. I hope that they have good opponents because Okoli and Adelaide, especially Okoli, he's number one in the He's number one with the WBC. He needs to be fighting someone ranked in the WBC. As far as I'm concerned, I want him to fight Cabello or someone like that, just because it makes sense in the rankings wise. But I don't know. I really hope that he's in a good fight, not just like a random 8-rounder. And the same goes with David Adelaide. Even though he's coming off the loss to Hrgovic, I want to see him in a real fight. And yeah, but so it's cool that boxing is really coming to Africa in full swing. There's going to be the 3rd event there. We'll have 3 events in the last 3 months of the year, and then we're going to have a huge event there in February with probably a stadium fight for Anthony Joshua. So African boxing is really growing in these next few months. Unfortunately, Louis Edmondson is injured ahead of the Ezra Taylor fight this weekend. It'll now be Ezra Taylor fighting Steed Woodall. So they stole Steed Woodall over from the GBM tournament he was going to be a part of, and now he's going to be facing Ezra Taylor. Still over 12 rounds, I believe. I mean, I don't know. This card has just not had the best luck. Barely any good fights on it. We were meant to have Denzel Bentley, Edgar Saavedra. That fight has still not been agreed at all, so it won't be on this event. And then we were meant to have Edmondson Taylor, which was a great fight. Now it's going to be Taylor Woodall, which is okay, but Taylor will certainly beat Woodall. And then you've got Royston Barney Smith, Danny Quartermain, which is a pretty good fight, and then Georgian Eldadaj versus Rolly Lambert. Fogum, again, an okay fight, but just when you look at this on pay-per-view, the undercard is just not supporting it, and the main event doesn't deserve to be on pay-per-view, so it's going to be a rough sell for them. It really is. Kell Brook will be stepping in to face Issa Alda February 13th in Dubai in support of the Ricky Hatton Foundation. Obviously, Hatton was supposed to fight Alda in December. I don't know if this is an exhibition or a pro fight, but I think it's cool that Kell Brook stepping in, to still have this event go forward. They're going to be doing it now in honor of Ricky Hatton. Yeah, it's just so tragic, especially when you knew that he had
up and you knew that he was in that. He was still healthy enough to get that to be able to fight. But yeah, it's crazy, man.
it's pretty cool that he's going to be stepping in, and they'll still have that event in Dubai. Chris Bump-Smith is pulled out of the interim fight negotiations with Roman Fress, so they'll now go down the list, find the next available contender to determine the interim champion. I think it was just that the purse bid that they got really, really cheap for Bump-Smith when he usually gets paid. He was going to get paid like $150,000. He usually gets paid way more than that. So I think they were just like, yeah, I'm not going to fight this random guy. I'm just going to hold out and wait for a shot against Jai Patai or something like that, which is a great fight. But, when you look at it, the next available contender is Umar Salamov at number 3. So maybe it'll be Roman Fress versus Umar Salamov. And winner of that will be mandatory 2-1 Zurdo Smith in becoming the WBO interim champion. So let's see if that does end up happening next. Dave Mundell is unfortunately out of the Josh Dyer fight on November 15th. I was really excited for that, champ versus champ. Interestingly enough, though, Lorenzo Hunt is going to be stepping in, and this will be a rematch. So really excited to see Lorenzo Hunt finally back in the ring. He hasn't fought in like a year and a half, where he was one of the faces of bare knuckle fighting, and had that really weird loss to Mick Terrell. Had like an arm injury or something. So excited that he's going to be getting back into the ring and fighting the champion in Josh Dwyer. Or Dyer. So, yeah, we're just going to have to see how that one goes. November 15th, they got some competition. Same night as UFC 322. ProBucks TV has announced another awesome card. Jesse Magdaleno versus Muhammad Yakubov on November 29th in Fresno, California. That is a really, really good fight. I like it a lot. Magdaleno obviously had the losses that were level against guys like Ray Ford, Brandon Figueroa, but now he's stepping back in after getting a win, and he's going to be fighting Muhammad Yakubov, who's undefeated. So, interesting fight there. Co-main event, Eric Badillo, who obviously just won the Eliminator with the WBC. He's going to be fighting former world champion Elwin Soto. And then you also have Carlos Balderas versus Carlos Sanchez and Justin Paldo back against Nike Theron. 4 good action fights. ProBucks TV putting together a lot of good fights. They have 3 events in November now. They've got Niklaus Flaz versus Tiger Johnson on November 7th. November 21st, I want to say, is when they'll have Francisco Veron versus Roman Villa. And now November 29th, Jesse Magdaleno, Muhammad Yakubov. Really like these ProX TV cards. They're putting together a lot more and doing some good stuff. Also announced November 22nd, Mizuki Haruto will be defending her WBO and newly crowned Ring Magazine Championship against Gloria Gallardo, headlining the next UFC Fight Pass event with 360 Promotions. Excited to see that she's going to be headlining. This will be her 4th title defense of the year. She's been locked in, getting good wins, and I hope that she gets a big fight next, some kind of a unification or something, because she's good and she's just fighting randos. But yeah, that's all the news I have for this episode. We do have a fight card tomorrow night in Puerto Rico as Joshua James Pagan will be taking on Malik Montgomery. Really, really interesting fight. One that I think will be hard to disappoint in terms of entertainment. I think it'll be a good watch. It'll be competitive. I do think Pagan will be able to edge it out because I think Montgomery's good, but I think he's flawed, and I think he'll just end up getting outboxed by someone like Pagan. He'll definitely go the distance. Pagan's not a knockout puncher. Malik Montgomery certainly is, so he may be able to turn the tide there and get a stoppage, but I'm going to pick Pagan to get the decision in that one. Ashley Lozado also on the card in an 8-rounder, which I believe is her first one. So excited for the Thursday night card. we'll do the next episode Friday is what I'm thinking, where we will preview Joseph Parker-Fabio Wardley and Tom Aspinall-Cirogan. Huge weekend of combat sports coming up. We were meant to also have Fraser Clark versus Jimmy TKV and Sebastian Vendora versus Keith Thurman. Those events have both been delayed or postponed, so that really is unfortunate. But we still got some good fights. Plus, we have the BKFC 83 card with Kamosi versus Sakara for, I think it's the Cruiserweight Championship. So I'm looking forward to that. But thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great week, and peace out.